Assalamu alaikum all. A regime that kills its own citizens, who are simply asking for freedom, who are simply asking to live in dignity. And by the way, the Syrian people are not complaining of poverty, as it has been portrayed in some media outlets. Syrian people mainly want their dignity. They want to be treated like human beings. A regime that slaughters children, some of whom are under the age of 15. A regime that tortures women does not have any more legitimacy. This massacre that is taking place right now is not the only massacre that has been perpetrated by this regime. We all remember what happened in Hama. And only 3 years ago, there was a massacre at the Sinai prison, a video clip of which has been leaked. This regime has lost its legitimacy. What we want from our Canadian government is to take action now. The steps that the Canadian government took so far in terms of imposing sanctions are a good starting point, but they will do nothing to put pressure on this regime. What we want is two things from the Canadian government. We want Mr. Harper and his government to declare the Syrian regime, and I keep calling it regime because it's not a legitimate government. It's a bunch of thugs who are just committing crimes against the Syrian people. We want our government to declare clearly that this regime has lost its legitimacy to govern. And we should not wait for the US and the American administration to do this. We should be first. So that's the first thing that we want our government to do. The second most important thing is we want our government to take a lead position to refer this matter to the International Criminal Court. We have enough evidence, whether it's witnesses or whether it's video clips that have been posted on Facebook. And that's why, by the way, the Syrian government does not allow any media, independent media, to go inside Syria and verify the accounts. So those are two important things that we want our government to do. Now, as for us, as citizens of this country and as people who came originally from Syria, I think we have a lot to do. I very much appreciate you being here today. That shows that you really care. But this is really the easy part. Every one of us has a responsibility. Even children could contribute these days. If you know how to write, that is good. Write letters, write op-eds, because it's very important to understand what will make this pressure happen and become effective is the public opinion. Okay? Public opinion in Canada counts as opposed to Syria. It does count. So if you know how to write, try to submit op-eds. At the minimum, submit a letter to the editorial board. If you can't, at least go and participate in comments and discussions. Another thing I think is important, especially for people who live in Ottawa because of the parliament. One good idea is, if we can form a group of 3 people, let's say, to go and meet every single MP, member of parliament, and speak to them about the atrocities and the crimes that are taking place in Syria. And believe me, this will make a huge difference. It will make a huge difference. Well, finally, again, I think it's very important to keep the focus. And one thing that gives me a lot of hope is that the Syrian people, despite all the atrocities and the torture, remember, it is reported that there's at least 10,000 people who are detained and being tortured at this time. Despite all of this, the Syrian people have shown courage to continue to ask for their rights and to continue to ask to live in dignity and freedom. And for that, we must all say to them, thank you very much, and we owe you a lot, and we will never forget you. We will never forget your martyrs. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I thank Mr. Arar for his humble speech, and I would like to welcome Mrs. Smith, Deborah Smith.